So, let's start. Number 10, Watergate, the paranoid theory that took down a president. In the early 1970s, the idea that the President of the United States could be running a secret political spy operation seemed absurd. The country had just landed on the moon, and most Americans trusted that government leaders were working for the public good, not sneaking around in the middle of the night like cartoon villains. Yet, in June 1972, 5 men dressed in suits carrying wiretapping devices were arrested while breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters in the Watergate complex. At first, the White House dismissed the incident as the work of overzealous supporters, nothing more than a minor, isolated crime. The story might have ended there, if not for the dogged investigative work of 2 young journalists at the Washington Post, Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. They began piecing together clues that revealed an extensive network of political espionage, money laundering, and intimidation, all designed to secure Nixon's re-election. Hush money flowed to the burglars. Secret accounts funneled funds away from prying eyes. And most shocking of all, Oval Office tapes captured Nixon himself discussing how to obstruct justice and hide the evidence. When the tapes were released to the public, the nation was stunned. The President of the United States, once seen as untouchable, was caught plotting against his own democratic system. Nixon's resignation was historic, the first time a U.S. president had ever stepped down, and the scandal left Americans questioning the integrity of their government. What began as a paranoid rumor wasn't just true, it was a testament to how far corruption could go when unchecked ambition meets absolute power. Watergate didn't just expose a crime, it shattered the illusion of invulnerability around the presidency and changed political journalism forever. Number 9, the Mafia, the shadow empire America pretended didn't exist. For decades, most Americans believed the Mafia was just a figment of popular imagination fueled by movies, books, and sensationalist headlines. The FBI even denied that organized crime existed on a national level. They insisted that the mob was a few isolated criminals, not a structured network influencing politics, business, and law enforcement. That perception crumbled in 1957 when police stumbled upon a secret summit in Appalachian, New York. More than 60 notorious mob bosses from across the US, including New York, Chicago, and even Italian crime families, were caught meeting in a mansion surrounded by luxury cars and armed security. The law enforcement officers had inadvertently uncovered the true scale of organized crime in America. These men weren't just having a dinner party, they were coordinating national criminal enterprises, gambling rings, drug trafficking, extortion operations, and political corruption schemes. For decades, anyone who claimed the Mafia existed was dismissed as a conspiracy theorist, but the Appalachian raid proved that organized crime had been operating openly yet invisibly. Entwined with powerful social and political structures, the revelation prompted a massive FBI crackdown, and America could no longer ignore what had been happening in plain sight. The mob's reach extended into legitimate businesses, unions, and even local politics, revealing a shadow empire operating in the heart of American society. What once seemed like folklore or exaggeration was, in fact, a chilling reality. A criminal network so powerful that it could shape cities and influence entire states while staying hidden from public scrutiny. Number 8, Operation Snow White. When a church became a spy agency. In the 1970s, rumors swirled about the Church of Scientology. Not just that it was a strange new religion, but that it was actively engaging in espionage against the US government. Most people scoffed at the idea. How could a religious organization dedicated to spiritual matters secretly run a global spy operation? In 1977, the FBI answered that question with a series of dramatic raids in Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles. They discovered Operation Snow White, the largest infiltration of the U.S. government ever uncovered. Over 5,000 church members had been enlisted to steal or destroy documents that portrayed Scientology or its founder, L. Ron Hubbard, in a negative light. They infiltrated more than 100 federal agencies, including the IRS, CIA, and Department of Justice. They forged IDs, hacked records, planted agents inside offices, and manipulated government files, all under the direction of the church's leadership. the operation was astonishing in scale and ambition. It wasn't rogue members acting independently, the orders came from the top. Hubbard's wife, Mary Sue, played an active role in orchestrating the espionage. The church's agents took enormous risks to secure the organization's image, manipulating intelligence networks and exploiting loopholes in bureaucracy. When the news broke, the public was stunned. What had once been dismissed as paranoia turned out to be a meticulously coordinated espionage effort blending ideology, deception, and criminal strategy. Operation Snow White showed that organizations with enough money, motivation, and secrecy could challenge the very institutions designed to hold them accountable. Number 7. The Panama Papers, when the rich really were hiding everything. For years, activists and investigative journalists had been warning that the global elite were quietly hiding trillions of dollars in offshore accounts, evading taxes, and manipulating the financial system. Governments and mainstream economists often dismiss these claims as paranoid fantasies. After all, the idea that kings, presidents, movie stars, and billionaires were all secretly funneling money through shadowy tax havens seemed almost cartoonishly extreme. Then, in 2016, the world got its answer: the Panama Papers. A leak of 11.5 million documents from a small Panamanian law firm, Mossack Fonseca, exposed a labyrinthine network of shell companies, secret trusts, and hidden bank accounts. These documents revealed that nearly every continent was implicated, involving leaders like Iceland's prime minister, Russia's inner circle, Pakistani politicians, and even members of royal families. It wasn't just about hiding cash. Some of the money-funded criminal operations bribed officials or bought political influence. The scale was staggering. Ordinary citizens struggling with taxes and debt could see that there were two separate financial realities, one for the public and one for those rich enough to bend the rules. The leak didn't just expose financial secrets, it exposed an entire shadow economy, a parallel system where rules were optional and consequences nearly invisible. The global reaction was seismic. Journalists across the world collaborated to uncover hidden connections, resignations followed, and investigations into corrupt practices ignited political storms. What had once been dismissed as the paranoid musings of anti-capitalist bloggers turned out to be an unprecedented expose of systemic corruption on a planetary scale. The Panama Papers didn't just prove the conspiracy theorists right, they revealed a financial underworld operating in plain sight, shaping power far beyond public scrutiny. Number 6. The Iran-Contra Affair, the secret war America denied. In the mid-1980s, conspiracy theorists whispered about a wild and impossible scenario: that the US government was secretly selling weapons to Iran, a country publicly labeled an enemy, and then using the money to fund Nicaraguan rebels known as the Contras. Politicians dismissed the idea as far-fetched, the stuff of paranoid Cold War fantasy. Then, in 1986, the truth came to light, shocking the nation. The Reagan administration had orchestrated a secret operation, knowingly bypassing Congress, selling missiles and other weapons to Iran, which was under an arms embargo, and funneling the profits to support the Contras fighting in Nicaragua. What made the operation even more egregious was that it involved multiple levels of deception: covert communications, off-the-books funding channels, and a complete disregard for legal oversight. The fallout was extraordinary. Congressional hearings revealed that high-ranking officials, including members of the National Security Council, had actively worked to deceive both lawmakers and the public. The US, a nation that prided itself on law, transparency, and democracy, had engaged in illegal operations and funded a violent proxy war, all while publicly portraying itself as morally righteous. The Iran-Contra Affair left a lasting impact on American politics and public trust. It demonstrated that when ambition, ideology, and secrecy converge, even governments with sophisticated checks and balances can execute complex operations hidden from their own citizens. Conspiracy theorists who had been ridiculed were vindicated, proving that sometimes the most outrageous whispers of clandestine government action are actually chillingly accurate. Number 5. The tobacco cover-up, when Big Tobacco lied to the world. For decades, cigarette companies aggressively denied that smoking caused cancer or that nicotine was addictive, Scientists who published contradictory evidence were silenced, blacklisted, or discredited, while whistleblowers who challenged the industry faced ruin. Anyone who dared suggest that tobacco companies were covering up the truth was branded a lunatic, a conspiracy theorist clinging to paranoia. The truth emerged slowly in the 1990s through internal documents and whistleblower testimonies. The files revealed that since at least the 1950s, tobacco executives had known nicotine was highly addictive, that cigarettes caused cancer, and that their products were killing millions of people worldwide. Yet, they actively suppressed research, manipulated scientific studies, and even targeted children in advertising campaigns to create a new generation of smokers. Executives had testified under oath in front of Congress, swearing that nicotine was not addictive, an unambiguous lie captured on video. These revelations led to a cascade of lawsuits and massive financial settlements, costing the industry billions. More importantly, it exposed a terrifying reality. Corporations, when motivated by profit, could knowingly sacrifice public health on a massive scale. Using deception and influence to maintain their power, the tobacco cover-up serves as a landmark example of systemic corporate fraud. What had seemed like a crazy conspiracy theory turned out to be one of the most audacious, well-documented, and deadly cover-ups in modern history. It was proof that conspiracies don't always exist in the shadows. Sometimes they are orchestrated in broad daylight, with billions at stake and millions of lives affected. Number 4. Project Sunshine, when the government took the dead without permission. For decades, rumors circulated about a horrifying practice during the Cold War, that governments were secretly taking human remains, including bones, organs, and tissues without permission, for scientific experiments. Families dismissed these whispers as grotesque paranoia. How could any government stoop to something so macabre? But the truth came out in the 1990s. Under the codename Project Sunshine, scientists in the United States had been collecting human remains from cemeteries, hospitals, and morgues worldwide. The goal? To study how radioactive fallout from nuclear weapons tests spreads through the human body. They wanted data on how isotopes like strontium-90, a byproduct of nuclear explosions, were absorbed and transferred across generations. The shocking part, the samples included children, infants, and even fetuses. None of the families had given consent. The scale of Project Sunshine was staggering. Over 1,500 human samples were taken from cemeteries in the United States, Europe, and Asia. Bones were cut, tissues preserved, and results compiled in secret reports that were circulated only within government and scientific circles. The public had no idea that scientists were literally dissecting the dead to understand the hidden effects of nuclear tests. When the documents were finally declassified, global outrage erupted. Governments, scientists, and ordinary citizens alike were horrified. Ethics regulations governing research were rewritten to prevent such violations, but the project left a lingering stain. It showed how far official science could stray when secrecy, ambition, and national security took precedence over morality. What had once been dismissed as the darkest corner of conspiracy theory was, in fact, a grotesque reality. Number 3, the business plot. America's almost coup. In 1933, conspiracy rumors emerged that a group of wealthy American businessmen were plotting to overthrow President Franklin D. Roosevelt and install a fascist dictatorship. On the surface, it sounded like an absurd story from Pulp Fiction, and most of the public dismissed it outright. Who would believe that an actual coup could be brewing in the heart of a democracy? Yet, retired Marine General Smedley Butler, a decorated war hero, came forward with chilling testimony. He revealed that he had been approached by these businessmen to lead a coup against Roosevelt. The plan was audacious: mobilize 500,000 veterans and march on Washington to seize power, ostensibly for the good of the country. The businessmen feared that Roosevelt's New Deal policies were threatening their vast wealth, and they sought a fascist-style government to protect their interests. Congress launched an investigation and confirmed key parts of Butler's story, though the final report downplayed the conspiracy to avoid panic. Internal communications and testimony revealed a web of private funding, strategic planning, and high-level coordination. It was an audacious attempt to subvert democracy from within. and it had almost worked. The business plot is a stark reminder that conspiracies aren't just the stuff of novels or movies. Even in a nation founded on democratic ideals, secret power grabs can emerge when ambition, wealth, and fear converge. Butler's courage in exposing the plot arguably prevented a national catastrophe. But history shows that the line between rumor and reality is sometimes terrifyingly thin. Number 2, the NSA's mass surveillance, they're watching you, wasn't a joke. Before 2013, warnings that governments were spying on ordinary citizens were largely mocked as paranoid techno-fantasies. The idea that every call, email, text, or social media post could be monitored seemed like a plot from a dystopian novel, not reality. Then came Edward Snowden, a former NSA contractor. Snowden leaked thousands of classified documents revealing an extraordinary truth. The NSA and allied intelligence agencies were running massive surveillance programs. These programs weren't limited to suspected criminals. They were designed to collect information on millions of ordinary citizens across the globe. Phone records, webcam feeds, emails, text messages, social media activity, all captured and analyzed by powerful algorithms. The revelations were shocking. Governments had built vast infrastructure capable of tracking individuals with unprecedented precision. Private conversations, political affiliations, and even intimate details of daily life were being logged in secret databases. Global outrage followed, raising urgent questions about privacy, freedom, and government overreach. The NSA's mass surveillance programs transformed public discourse on privacy. What had once been dismissed as paranoia suddenly became an undeniable reality. Big Brother was not fiction. The Snowden leaks forced a reckoning, exposing the chilling power governments can wield over citizens when secrecy goes unchecked. It also proved that online conspiracy theorists, often dismissed as alarmists, were sometimes just observing the obvious realities before the rest of the world caught up. Number 1. The Epstein Network, the billionaire scandal nobody wanted to believe. For years, whispers circulated online about billionaire Epstein, that he ran a trafficking ring and had powerful friends protecting him. Many assumed these claims were lurid internet fantasies, the kind of dark gossip that circulated in conspiracy circles but had no basis in reality. Then, in 2019, Epstein was arrested. Suddenly, the conspiracy crystallized into horrifying clarity. He owned a private island, a luxury jet known as the Lolita Express, and had connections to presidents, princes, and prominent business leaders. Evidence revealed that for decades he had trafficked minors, often with the complicity of influential people who shielded him from prosecution. The scandal didn't end with his arrest. Epstein's mysterious death in a supposedly secure federal prison added layers of intrigue and suspicion. Investigations continued, and the network of enablers and abusers was slowly being exposed. The whispers were right. There was a hidden world of abuse, power, and corruption that most of society refused to acknowledge until it could no longer be ignored. Epstein's network exemplifies the terrifying reach of wealth and influence. What began as gossip and conspiracy theory turned into undeniable proof that some of the world's most powerful people can operate above the law. It became a stark lesson that corruption doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it travels first class with private jets and luxury islands marking its path. Thank you for watching and sticking till the end. We've got plenty more videos coming in the future. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss them. See you in the next one.